Welcome in to the Punt and Pass podcast. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside my co-host, Jake be sure to follow us on social media at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at Jake, puntandpass.com, the number one destination for all things college football. Jake, week 2 is in the books. A couple of very surprising finishes across the college football landscape, and the NFL is fully underway. How about those Detroit Lions getting a huge overtime victory on Sunday Night Football? So we are in the full swing of things. It feels good to be back. We're going to touch on everything that happened in week 2, but first things first, how are you, man? What a game last night.
Hey, man, doing great. Definitely was a late night. Awesome Sunday night football. Great finish. Won in overtime. Man, incredible atmosphere. It was awesome. My first real deal home game here at Ford Field. So it was awesome, man. Glad to be a part of it.
Saw a couple of your dog brothers as well. Of course, Stetson Bennett and Matthew Stafford, both quarterbacks for the Los Angeles Rams. Did you catch up with those guys pregame?
Yeah. Saw Stet pregame. Didn't get to see Matthew before. Saw him after the game. Obviously, kind of tough after the game. That was a heartbreaker for him, and got to see Warren McClendon as well. So plenty of dogs over there. Good to see him as always, and wish them the best the rest of the season.
I tell you what, from a viewing experience, I mean, it felt like a playoff game. I mean, Jackie looked over. We were watching it late night. She was like, "This feels like a playoff game." Some incredible playmakers all over the field. Of course, it goes into overtime. Detroit does not give LA a chance to get the ball back. You guys go down there, you score a big win for the Detroit Lions as they kick off their 2024 campaign. So Jake Fromm bringing the W's up to Motor City. That was a fun game to check out. You know what else is fun? Let me tell you something that happened this past weekend. My sister-in-law, Nicole, she got engaged. That's right. And guess where the ring came from? You already know. It came from Solomon Brothers Jewelers. This episode of Punt and Pass is presented to you by Solomon Brothers Jewelers. It is the only jewelry store you need in the Atlanta area, especially if you need an engagement ring, if you want a new timepiece, if you need some awesome new jewelry, head on over to Solomon Brothers. They have 3 amazing locations just for you. Of course, it's in Buckhead. Yes, you know about Alpharetta, and now down south of the city in Sharpsburg. The best part about Solomon Brothers is if you mention Punt and Pass while you're in store, you can get 20% off your jewelry purchase. Jaron, a fine Georgia Bulldog, he has been a huge supporter of the podcast over the years. And yes, my future brother-in-law, he said, which Solomon Brothers location do I go to? I need to buy an engagement ring. So he did his thing. The ring is absolutely spectacular. The in-store experience at Solomon Brothers is unparalleled. The service you get is the best in the game. And of course, the diamond and jewelry selection is top notch. Follow them on social media at Solomon Brothers, SolomonBrothers.com. So another engagement ring, bam, in the books from the Punt and Pass podcast. Congratulations to Nicole and Ari.
That was awesome.
That was a fun weekend. And again, the ring, spectacular. So Solomon Brothers saves the day once again. All right, Jake, let's head into 3 now. And first down, we got to talk about some of these week 2 results. I was dead wrong. You were dead right on the Texas-Michigan game. I thought Michigan would at least show some life. You said you thought they were going to blow them out. That's, of course, exactly what happened. Number 3 Texas defeats number 10 Michigan 31-12, right down the street from where you are in Detroit. Ann Arbor's like 30 miles outside of Detroit. Dude, a lot of question marks around this Michigan team, but on the flip side, Texas looks very, very good.
Yeah, Texas looked dominant in this one for sure. And Michigan's just not the same football team right now. Don't have the same head coach, don't have the same quarterback, running back, offensive line. They're just not playing that same brand of Michigan football that we've seen in the recent years past. And obviously it's indicative by the score here. I mean, Texas just goes up there. They've had huge success in week 2 of this year and in last year when they went on the road and played Alabama. This Texas team is scary because they're looking like it doesn't matter where you play, whether it's at home, away, in a neutral site. It doesn't matter. They're going to show up and they're going to play their brand of football. Quinn Ewers playing really good right now. And, to finish this thing up, I really want to say I appreciate you giving me my flowers on this one and saying that I was right.
Well, don't get it twisted. I mean, Michigan scored a touchdown with a minute and a half left in the game. I mean, this was a total beatdown, an embarrassment on Michigan's behalf because they don't have a quarterback. The offensive line, I think they replaced all 5 starters on the offensive line. They were talking about it throughout the broadcast. I mean, this is a whole new football team. Of course, your identity is up in the air without head coach Jim Harbaugh, and Sharon Moore, he's looking for answers. And I don't want to be like too harsh, but Davis Warren is not the answer at quarterback. Alex Orji got in the game a couple of times. Everybody knew that it was going to be a design quarterback run at that point. I took Donovan Edwards more than 51.5 rushing yards rushing yards on Prize Picks. That didn't come in. He ends the game with 41 rushing yards, but they had to abandon the run late in the game, Jake. They were down so big, there was no chance they were going to keep handing the ball off. That really hurt me, so I apologize. I'll be better. I can tell you that much. But Michigan now moves up to number 2 in the AP poll. They're damn good. And it's looking like it's setting up to be a colossal matchup. Georgia in Austin against Texas. I believe the week prior to that game, Texas plays Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. That, of course, being the first rendition of those two teams in the SEC. But when you look across college football and you think, of course, Georgia's doing their thing, Ohio State's doing their thing, Texas is in that discussion firmly now. And Steve Sarkisian kind of owning that, Jake, saying, like, we're ready to play. We got a quarterback. We got tons of speed on the outsides. Their lines of scrimmage look pretty good, too. That was a statement win. I thought Michigan could keep it within a touchdown, and boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they've look what Sark has been able to do there, from building a culture to recruiting well to obviously spending the money that they're spending. Like this is that perfect recipe for success. And man, I really hope Texas takes care of business because I would love to see a 1 versus 2,
Yeah, it'd be
like
sick.
in Austin,
Night
like
game.
come on, man. That would be it. What a game that could be, hopefully should be. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I think Texas is a dang good football team, and they're going to be in it at the very end.
Yeah, they definitely will be. They got all the makings for a special season in Austin. And of course, in their maiden voyage throughout the SEC, it's going to be a fun team to keep our eyes on all season long. Hey, a team that I was really high on heading into week 2 after their great week 1 win, and I threw roses at Marcus Freeman in a huge way.
Yep.
Notre Dame. Notre Dame pays Northern Illinois $1.4 million to come play football in South Bend at Notre Dame Stadium. And guess what happened, Jake? They lost the football game. Northern Illinois upsets number 5 Notre Dame in South Bend 16-14. Northern Illinois, a MAC team. Okay. I'm not knocking the MAC. I'm just saying what it is. A MAC team goes in, knocks off the number 5 ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I do not believe Notre Dame has had a passing touchdown yet this season through 2 weeks. Not many teams can say that. Notre Dame is in that discussion. Another horrible loss for Marcus Freeman. I believe 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago, they lost to Marshall at home as well. So maybe not taking the lesser opponents as seriously. Before we get into breaking down this game, I got to give mad props to my man Dan Hicks over at NBC. He calls the game block, the field goal to win the game for Notre Dame. They send out the kicker for like a 60-plus yarder. It was a Hail Mary, and Northern Illinois ends up taking it down. Listen to this call by Dan Hicks.
But this is an awful lot to ask. Mitch Jeter, and that's blocked at the line of scrimmage. And the Huskies are celebrating the biggest upset in their school's history.
Just incredible. And let's keep one thing in mind. Notre Dame, so close to Chicago, Illinois. You know, a lot of people consider Notre Dame to be like Chicago adjacent. It certainly is. DeKalb, Illinois, where where Northern Illinois is, not far from Chicago. So all these people who are Northern Illinoisers, I guess you could call them, Jake, they have bragging rights for a very long time because you know damn well there's a lot more Notre Dame fans than there are Northern Illinois fans in that Chicago area.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that would be the equivalent of Georgia losing to Georgia Southern or Georgia State.
Georgia State. That's exactly what it would be like. Yeah.
Like that's it. So, I mean, it's so borderline depressing for a team and a program that had everything to look forward to this year. All they had to do was go and take care of business, and they are in it. They're in that conversation and have all the chances in the world, and just take a giant misstep in week 2.
Yeah.
So need better quarterback play. I mean, all around here, just not a very, very good game. And man, congrats to Northern Illinois to going in there and take care of business and beating a team that wasn't ready to play you.
No, they weren't ready to play. Riley Leonard had 2 interceptions. Look, you turn the ball over. You don't run the ball effectively. You're going to have a long day. I don't care who you're playing. And that's exactly what happened to Notre Dame. I guess my question to you, Jake, would be, is this a disqualifier for them in the college football playoff race? Because last week I looked at their schedule and I was like, oh, pencil them in. They are going to the college football playoff. You lose to a MAC team at home? I mean, should they get into the college football playoff if they win the rest of their games this year?
The sad thing is how easy and friendly their schedule is the rest of the season. They most certainly could get in with 1 loss, and as long as they look good in these rest of these wins, they're still in there. So what they want to do and what they want to accomplish this season is still there. But you just don't want to do this in week 2. But hey, but maybe better in week 2 than week 10. Because I tell you, losing late in college football is worse than losing in week 1 to 4. So we know that for a fact. And this might change their team moving forward, and they may just start taking care of business and winning football games. Who knows? But I still think everything they want to accomplish is there before them.
Okay, well, Jake Fromm says Notre Dame can fight, scratch, and claw their way back into the college football playoff discussion. So it remains to be seen. Riley Leonard, you got to play better football. You need better quarterback play. Take care of the football as well. Another interesting development, this one comes out of the ACC when Georgia Tech makes their first appearance inside the top 20 for the first time in years. They go up to Syracuse, new head coach Fran Brown. My former teammate Nick Williams is on that staff as well. Jake, I would assume that you know a couple of guys on that coaching staff. A lot of them migrated from down here in Georgia. They get a big win at home. They knock off number 23 Georgia Tech 31-28. And it really wasn't that close. 31-14 heading into the fourth quarter. Georgia Tech got punched in the mouth. Fran Brown took this one very seriously. He had some pointed comments. I don't know if you saw this, Jake.
No.
After the game, Fran Brown had some very pointed comments saying, I heard what Brent Key said during the week, and I'll tell you what Brent Key said. But Fran Brown goes on to say, this is in his post-game press conference. I heard what they said during the week. You don't think we're a tough football team? I just came from Georgia where I worked with Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp. I mean, he's calling out Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp and Georgia in his postgame press conference after beating Georgia Tech. And what Brent Key said earlier in the week, I thought it was really like a nondescript kind of comment. He just said, hey, we're going up there and we're gonna try to be the most physical team from 12-4. He's like, we're going up there to be a physical team for 4 hours. Fran Brown was able to take that quote, kind of manipulate it into a motivational aspect for Syracuse heading into this game. And Jake, they did just that. They knock off Georgia Tech and kind of bring the Yellow Jackets back down to earth.
Yeah, to me, kind of what I hear from those comments from Fran Brown, it's like, hey, this Georgia Tech rivalry, it's still there. It's a little deeper, and even you go off in all these different places. Hey, it still means something. So good to see that there. And to me, this game comes down to playing a physical brand of football, but 2, it comes down to quarterback play with Kyle McCord. I mean, this guy who just got kicked off the curb from Ohio State, 381 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
this guy balled out, played his butt off, and he's the reason why they won.
Yeah, Tech's defense had no answer for Syracuse all game long. And I thought that was sort of the trap game heading into this weekend. Georgia Tech been riding very high. They got VMI coming up this week, and Syracuse caught them right where Tech did not want them to. So big win for Syracuse. A couple of other notable results. Tennessee turns it on in the second half. They smoke NC State 51-10. It looks like Nico Iamaleava is for real at Tennessee. So watch out for the Vols. They got a lot of positive momentum as the season starts to get into gear. Clemson, a team that you said, hey, not all is lost. They look pretty good against App State, 66-20. Did you see old Cade Klubnik's stat line? 24-26, 378 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. I think he might have listened to Jake Fromm on Thursday's episode where you said, it's okay, dude. Take a deep breath. A lot of football left.
Hey, a lot of football left. He went out there, balled out, responded very well. To me, like, if you want to know about a quarterback, you want to know about a person, about a player, watch how they respond to adversity. And that's exactly what he did. Hey, he took it, got in his core group of guys, trusted the game plan, trusted his teammates, and went out and played well, executed well, and scored a lot of points. So it's going to be very fun to see what Clemson becomes the rest of the season. And who knows, there could be a rematch maybe later on, late in the season.
Yes, indeed. That night game on NBC, Nebraska, wow, they put it to Colorado. Yes. They were up 28-0. Yes, that was personal. Very personal. They led 28-0 at halftime. A lot of developments here kind of leads us into second down. The Dylan Raiola, Patrick Mahomes thing takes it to another level.
People are calling him Baby Mahomes.
Baby Mahomes. I heard people calling him Dylan Apartments instead of Mahomes Apartments. I mean, there's so many memes out there. I think Spencer, our producer's got a video right here of Raiola copying. Yes, you can see it right here on YouTube. Copying Mahomes' exact pregame warm-up, jumping up, looking towards the end zone, flexing the arms. I mean, what this is a whole nother level. I mean, whatever. We talked about it last week, but we have to touch on this. This is crazy.
Yeah, when we talk about that line, talk about that fence, I mean, to me, this is, we're starting to jump over the fence now, crossing that line of just becoming a little bit too much. So we'll see how this develops. Hey, man, if he's playing well, he's balling. It's tough. It's tough to really say a whole lot, but I don't know. It's a little much for me. I don't know. We're just going to have to, I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to see this develop and just see how far he takes it, whether or not, hey, he gets a little flack, a little pushback, and like, you know what, maybe I need to calm my roll and chill down a little bit. But
yeah, turn down the volume a couple notches on the Mahomes cosplay, because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
there were even articles being written like, what's going to happen when this guy, hopefully one day makes it to the NFL and he plays against Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he looks just like him. It is.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. But hey, whatever works. Nebraska now in the top 25. So watch out. The Cornhuskers could be making some noise. Look, I know we talked about it last week. We had to touch on that. I mean, that video that we just showed on our YouTube page, that was crazy. We have a great clip on our social medias as well. Go check us out at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. Give us a follow at Drew Butler, at From Jake. Let's go to third down. Things are getting uncomfortable at Colorado. Of course, with Coach Prime as the head coach, Shadur Sanders as the quarterback, Travis Hunter's there, Jimmy Horn's there. They're always going to be in the national news. And after getting shellacked last weekend, like we just said, 28-10 final, 28-0 at halftime, Shadur Sanders, he cut a rap song this offseason. Perfect Timing, I believe, is the title of the rap song. That's his celebration. He puts his watch up in the air. He's got like $100,000 plus watch. Good for him. That's cool. Coach Prime reportedly told the university that the band can't play the fight song. Colorado's band can't play the fight song after a touchdown because they want the PA system to play Shadur's rap song. We see it right here on our YouTube page. Keep that up, Spencer. I'm going to read it out loud. It says, quote, a year later, and the fight song still doesn't even play in the stadium after the quarterback throws a touchdown. Deion Sanders told the band they couldn't play if his son Shadur scores a touchdown so the loudspeaker can play a recording of his son's song, Perfect Timing. I don't know if this is true or not. It's being widely reported on social media. After the game, Jake, Shadur Sanders is in a press conference. He's asking the reporters, well, how many times did Raiola get touched? He's literally throwing his offensive line under the bus immediately after the game, taking no responsibility. How could an NFL coach be like, yes, I want that guy on my team?
Coach, that's a great question you ask. And I saw the interview, and just from a quarterback perspective, that's just something you don't do. Like, even when it wasn't your fault, or it was someone else's fault, you don't, that's just not something we do as our position. We are a unifier, and we got to keep our core group, our offensive unit together. And when we start dishing blame and saying this and that, man, we are just fractioning our group. And that's just not something we do, man. As a quarterback, you got to own it, take the responsibility, because when it's good, you're going to get all the praise, right? And when it's bad, you got to take it and you got to own it. So really do not like this at all from Shedeur. And watching the game, getting to see the sideline, Travis Hunter on the sideline. I don't know if you saw the altercation that him and Prime had. He's wanting the ball. And I understand there's a lot of passion that comes with that, but we have to be able to manage our emotions at some point. And it's just
be a leader,
right. Is that too much to ask in the world today? To be a grown up, be mature.
But yes, it is. It's 2024. It is way too much to ask. Thank you for asking that question. This also, this is in addition to Shedeur and Travis Hunter in the offseason playing NCAA 25 on a live stream. And back then, they were dumping on the offensive line. Of course, the linemen hear this. And if you don't know what we're talking about, Spencer, go ahead and play the clip of Shedeur in the postgame press conference.
I mean, how many times did Raul get touched?
You said what?
How many times did Raul get touched? There was able, like, of course, whenever you're able to run the ball consistently and whenever you're able to, then that opens up the pass, But it's just like you got to understand, like, what your team good at. So it's like, why would we keep running the ball if, okay, we out there and we get in a situation where it's a must get and we don't get it?
Right. Are those kind of like 4th and 1 conversions that haven't gone your guys' way in the last couple of, is that kind of play into everybody's mind? Is that kind of something on your mind when thinking about, advancing the ball and whatnot?
Nah, I'd rather, if we're going to go down, I'd rather go down swinging, honestly, because I know I could throw the best punch.
I mean, again, I don't know how his linemen don't go to him and be like, yeah, go find yourself new linemen. Lay down the first series of next week's game and let this guy get absolutely rocked by a linebacker. That's crazy to me. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say that's one of the most damning post-game press conferences I've ever seen from like a guy in your locker room. That's crazy.
Yeah. One's quarterback. You take it, you own it. 2, we could totally see a whole, the longest yard situation with the offensive line, like you mentioned. But 3, this interview is telling to me because he's got this little birdie in his head from somewhere, right? And obviously it's coming from Dad. It's coming from Coach Prime, where he said, and he's mentioned it before, this isn't just brand new out of nowhere. Like he's getting this in his head from somewhere. And so Coach Prime, and that's just not good, man. Coming from the top down, from your program, like this is supposed to be the leader of your program, having other people's backs, and we're just dishing it out because we're just not having the success we want to. So I'm not really liking what I'm seeing from Colorado, and this could get ugly fast.
Yeah, I mean, how about this? You got your ass kicked, take responsibility, and move on to the next week. Simple as that. So you're bringing on way more problems than you could have probably pushed away by just saying, hey, we all could have played better. I take responsibility. I'm the quarterback. Like, give them coach speak. Do not give the media or anybody else like us the opportunity to talk about and play your post-game press conference. So a lot coming out of that Colorado-Nebraska game. And of course, more will be coming out of Colorado just based on the media focus that is on that program. Hey, how about week 3? Let's talk about the Solomon Brothers big watch of the week. Some really good matchups coming at you this weekend. One specifically on Friday night. It is an awesome Big 12 matchup. Number 20, Arizona heads to Manhattan, Kansas to take on 14th ranked Kansas State. That will be a really good game between 2 high-powered quarterbacks, so I'll be tuned into that one. Alabama heads up north into Big 10 country to take on Wisconsin. That's the Fox Big Noon kickoff game at noon. Boston College and Mizzou. That is a top 25 matchup. Don't look now, but Missouri, are they really ranked 6th right now? That's crazy. Boston College ranked 24th. That game coming at you this upcoming weekend. And then, of course, Georgia heads up to Lexington to take on Brock Vandegrift and the Kentucky Wildcats. That's your 7:30 p.m. ABC game. Solomon Brothers, big watch of the week. Why do we call it that? Because Solomon Brothers has an unbelievable selection of timepieces. Head on into a Solomon Brothers store if you're in the Atlanta area, Buckhead, Alpharetta, Sharpsburg. If you mention Punt and Pass in store, you can get 20% off your jewelry purchase. So shout out Solomon Brothers, at Solomon Brothers on social media, SolomonBrothers.com. Kentucky looked atrocious, Jake.
Yes,
I don't know if you watched this game.
Yep.
They were horrible. Offensive line almost non-existent. Brock Vandagriff running for his life. Yep. South Carolina was a double-digit underdog. They won by 25 points. Let me just say it right now. Georgia is going to annihilate Kentucky this weekend.
Yeah, I think it could get really bad, really ugly, really fast. Obviously, Kirby, having Brock on the team for a while, knows what he does well, knows what he doesn't do very well. And with the group and the team that he has around him right now, after watching it with my eyes on Saturday versus South Carolina, now South Carolina, let's give them their flowers and their credit.
A huge win for Shane Beamer. Yes,
have a very good defense this year.
Yeah, they do.
And but still, as Kentucky, you got to be able to find a way to adjust and find a way to put points on the board. Brock is very talented, and you ran the ball functional. It was effective enough to be able to put some points and get in the end zone. But I don't know, man. This could get really bad and really fast, and could have a very similar outcome like we did this past Saturday when they played Tennessee Tech.
Dude, this Dylan Stewart kid, the true freshman 5-star recruit, the pass rusher for South Carolina, this kid is a total ass kicker. I mean, they had no answer for him. Kentucky didn't. Brock Vandagriff was running all over the place. But this guy, I mean, he almost looks like a basketball player, his physique. He is so explosive. He's so fast. He's so agile and bendable, where offensive tackles, they're just screwed. He can bend and get underneath their hip level to where they're lost. Offensive linemen can't touch him. So, that's going to be a fun game this weekend. LSU heads to Columbia. That's where College Game Day will be, Jake. I don't know if you knew that yet, but South Carolina, like you said, yes, Kentucky looked horrible, but give credit to South Carolina, a huge in-conference win for them. Shane Beamer kind of stamping his dominance over Kentucky and Mark Stoops in his young career at South Carolina. So a big win for them, no doubt.
Yeah, I feel like Beamer always shows up with these, out of the blue wins, signature wins, whatever you want to call them. But I feel like Beamer does a good job of hitting one or two of those every season and kind of gets the program rolling, keeps them relevant enough. And excited to kind of see how they finish this year, especially with the new schedule they have here in the SEC. But man, as long as they keep recruiting good, talented young guys like this defensive player, they'll be able to compete.
Yeah, Brock Vandagriff, not a good day at the office. And again, no help from his offensive line or his surrounding talent. 3 of 10, 30 yards, 1 interception.
That's rough, Coach.
Yeah, it's not what you want. It's not what you want. So, yeah, Wimsott, I guess Gavin Wimsott, the backup quarterback, he got some play as well late in the game. I mean, it was a total blowout. So who knows if they took Vandagriff out for specific reasons or they just wanted to get some reps in late. But you would expect Vandagriff gets the ball this upcoming weekend. Lexington is always a quote-unquote tough place to play. Kirby Smart talked about it today in his press conference. I thought another really interesting question in the press conference, Jake. I don't think you heard this. Many people didn't. But a reporter asked a question kind of in line with roster turnover now, transfers, essentially the ability for coaches to talk to players and be like, hey, you don't have a place here anymore. And they were referencing Brock Vandagriff. And I might get some lost in translation here, but head coach Kirby Smart of Georgia had a really good answer in saying, yeah, the Brock Vandagriff thing at Georgia wasn't going to work, but was it a failure? Absolutely not. He left here with 2 national championship rings. He got to play meaningful snaps in a lot of games. He graduated and got his degree. So Kirby Smart was essentially saying this is almost a benefit of the new era of college football, to where Brock comes to me, says, hey, I want to go play somewhere. Kirby Smart can say, let's help you find a good spot, right? He can help Brock and say, where are you thinking about going? Is there anywhere that I can make calls for you? Again, this is my assumption. But it seemed to me like Coach Kirby Smart said, hey, in a scenario like this, it's actually a win-win for everybody. And now Brock, of course, being the starting quarterback in Kentucky, there were rumors about some great NIL deals that were in place for him. And he's getting to lead an SEC program. So now he's got to go up against the big boys. Georgia's defense looking really good after that 48-3 shellacking of Tennessee Tech. I know we haven't talked about it much, but not really too much to discuss rather than Carson Beck looked really efficient, 5 touchdowns to 5 different wide receivers. And Georgia on to week 3, starting SEC play.
Yeah, I want to mention, I think this is so awesome of Kirby and how good and how confident he is in his program to be able to have guys like Brock Vandegrift, come to him and say, hey, let's help you try to become a better football player, become more successful, and find basically playing time somewhere. So
yeah,
I think that's so awesome, so neat. You don't get that everywhere else.
No,
that is not the normal. That is not the norm. So I just wanted to say, man, that's really cool by Coach Smart, being able to do that and have his program in a place where he is able to do that. And then also kind of going back to the game, to Tennessee Tech, Georgia versus Tennessee Tech, Carson looked great. I think it was good to see where they picked up they responded well where they didn't do well versus Clemson. And they got off to a fast start. They converted third downs. They had explosive plays. So all the things that we missed from that first game, especially in the first half, we got to see in the second game. It was really good to see them go back to practice, fix the things that they needed to fix, execute on what they needed to execute on, and had a lot of success doing it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Oscar Delp's ankle injury is that serious either. He walked back out onto the field. I'm sure he could have played if he needed to. Obviously, he didn't need to. I think Kirby Smart said he's just day-to-day. Keep in mind, SEC availability reports will be necessary this week for Georgia and Kentucky in conference games. The coaches have to give availability reports, which is similar to an injury report in the NFL. I loved Anthony Evans at the punt returner spot. He kind of jump starts things with a 46-yard return. And then the first play of the game on offense for Georgia, Carson Beck finds Dylan Bell for a touchdown. Again, really efficient. Thought the offensive line looked good. Rush game got going. Gunnar Stockton, he gets in the game as well. 10 of 12 for 90 yards. So I said it preseason. I'll say it now. The thing I like most about Georgia's wide receivers, Jake, is the versatility of the skill set. You've got Dylan Bell, who's kind of like that Deebo Samuel type, out of the backfield, physical, a guy you can rely on. You got Dominic Lovett, the slot guy, the speedster, can fit into zone spots. He's a guy you can rely on a third down. Colby Young, the transfer from Miami, a big body target. He's got a couple of touchdowns. A red zone threat. Arian Smith, speedster, take the top off of defense. Like, there's just such versatility. Carson Beck even said it after the game. Hey, this is the best wide receiver core that I've had since I've been at Georgia. And, now heading to Kentucky, conference game, like, take no prisoners. Hey, guys, SEC season's here. We got to go in there and take care of business, run the ball, get a couple of turnovers, and keep chugging along because it's a long season. And they have a bye week, I believe, after this week. And then it's
get 2 byes.
At Tuscaloosa. So here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Like you mentioned, if I'm Carson, I'm starting to really get excited about the rest of the season, kind of how the offense is progressing. If I'm Coach Mike Bobo, offensive coordinator, I'm like, dude, I got all these pieces. How do I fit all these pieces into our scheme? What I'm trying to do, put certain players in the right position to exploit their strengths against other teams' weaknesses. And let me tell you, just having size and having speed helps a ton. Could speak back to my freshman year and my sophomore year of just having Mecole Hardman on the field.
Yeah.
It made defenses scared. Man, safeties played farther back. They just did not want to get hit with that big one like we hit in the national championship game back in 2017. Like, they're just scared to death of speed. So having that speed on the field helps a ton, and it's going to lift coverage to be able to dink and dunk and then get them to suck up and then hit them over the top.
Yeah, Georgia 24-point favorite as it stands now on a Monday afternoon/evening at Kentucky this weekend. That is a huge spread. But if you watch the 2 games last weekend, you can easily see how Vegas handicappers got there. So, look, another Monday episode of Punt and Pass in the books. Week 2 certainly brought a little more drama than I had anticipated. I think week 3 is going to be great as well. Be sure to follow us on social media at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at From Jake. puntandpass.com is the #1 destination for all things college football. You can go snag a rope hat like Jake is wearing right now. I'll get that shipped out to you ASAP if you decide you want to support and purchase. A huge shout out to our presenting sponsor, that of course being Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Yes, Solomon Brothers Jewelers, the best jewelry store in Atlanta. 3 amazing locations for you. One in Buckhead, 17th floor, Tower Place. One in Alpharetta, just past the Avalon, and a brand new location down south of the city in Sharpsburg. Amazing selection of diamonds and jewelry. Awesome timepieces for the man in your life if you want to celebrate a big business deal on your own. And of course, an in-store experience that is simply unmatched. Shout out to Nicole and Ari again, Solomon Brothers, coming to save the day. A beautiful engagement ring for my sister-in-law. So thank you to Solomon Brothers for that. It is what they do. Jake, anything on the way out, my man?
Oh, man. Great week 2. Excited for week 3.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks so much. And we will talk to you on Thursday. See ya.
We out.